Okay, this has been the video that everyone has been long anticipating, and I don't think that I'm necessarily the best person to give this advice, but this has been one of the most repetitive questions on my channel since it's been created. A lot of you guys have been looking for a striker guide, and today we have taken time to prepare what the best that we can possibly do to share off our knowledge. So today, this is going to be my official striker guide. I want to let you know that if you're looking at the length of this video may appear as quite a long time. This video is going to be monetized once. There'll be an ad that plays at the beginning. There'll be an ad that plays at the end, so I guess twice. There'll be no commercials in between, so I will give you guys nothing but the full knowledge in case you're watching on mobile as well. There's going to be no music throughout this edit, and this video is going to be treated much like a podcast. We're going to avoid having to do too much editing in this video because I feel like we are very prepared for this presentation. So if you are here and if you are wanting to learn more on Striker and grab some outside opinions so you can shape this class to better yourself, then sit down. This is the video for you. If you're not interested in checking out a video like this or a guide like this, I encourage you to check out my channel where there are many others for you to enjoy. So moving on, let's go ahead and let's talk about the striker. So with me today, I have my friend Knight. Knight, how's it going?
Not bad in yourself, man.
Doing pretty good, man.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here too. So my friend Knight here is a great influence in the striker community. There is a Discord that is meant for class specifics, and Knight is the creator of the Striker and Mystic Discord. The reason why I said Mystic is, for those that don't know, Mystic is the female version of Striker, and we're going to keep it at that. The Striker Mystic Discord is a community of people that have played or do play and main this class, and they provide a wide variety of different combinations, knowledge, and the ability to answer questions with in-depth experience. And I'm going to include the link to the Striker Discord in the description down below. I encourage you, if you are a striker, to join this. Consider pausing the video. I'd make that one of the first things to do before getting into this video. So moving on, let's go ahead and let's talk about the striker and what the striker is. The striker, in my opinion, is a close combat class that has very high burst and does a lot of potential damage to anyone you may be fighting. I think they are great duelists, though I don't think they are necessarily the best class for dueling in the game. They are tremendous duelists, and they do shine in large-scale PvP, and they can play a wide variety of specific roles. I think that Striker is a very viable DP build for large-scale PvP. I think it's a very viable hybrid option for large-scale and small-scale, and I think it's a very viable option for pure AP monkeys. The great thing about the Striker class is the Striker is very new user-friendly, and it's also experienced user-friendly. It has a certain skill gap. In my opinion, that skill gap does only go so high. And with that being said, I think that when a person understands the in-depth mechanics of this game when it comes down to PvP, this class becomes tremendously fun to use. In terms of PvE, the Striker class is necessarily not the greatest grinder. It's not the greatest scaler in terms of grinding. We're going to discuss this later going down the road. And be aware that, in short, in conclusion, the Striker is a close combat brawler type class. Knight, do you have anything to contribute on this?
No, you pretty much hit it on the head, man. I mean, there's definitely things that we're going to talk about later that would probably be beneficial and what could improve the class, but you've pretty much nailed it. Definitely a brawler. We struggle against range classes due to the fact of that, but, like, I mean, there's ways around it. We'll do what we can and obviously just learn from mistakes and go from there.
Exactly. So, let's go ahead and let's get into the core information. So you are on the Striker. You've made your Striker class. You may be on PC, you may be on Xbox. I'd like to let you guys know that this video is going to be made for Xbox console players in the near future, so PlayStation, and who knows, maybe one day it's Switch. And this is also going to be for PC players in mind. We're going to be breaking this down into two different sections. We're going to be talking about the Striker Pre-Awaken, and then we're going to be talking about the Striker Awakening. So for Xbox players, this first part is going to be for you, and then for the PC players, after Pre-Awakening, the rest of the information will also be some core information you want to stay around for. And Xbox players, if you want to see what's going to be happening for Striker down the pipeline, or if Awakening has now come out for Xbox and other consoles, then definitely make sure you stay for this whole video. So you go ahead, you open your skill tree, and I know on Xbox your UI is going to be much different, and on PC your UI is going to look the same. And you have a wide variety of skills. Sometimes for people getting into the game, the skill tree may look a little bit overwhelming with all these things. We're not going to go into details of that because this is not a new player beginner guide. So, Knight, let's go ahead and let's go through this skill tree together, shall we?
No worries at all, man.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to go over is just one of the first moves. And now I notice we have like just our regular heavy fist hits. That's just our regular left mouse button. I wouldn't really worry about too much on that. I'm not going to talk about that much. Our Martial Spirit, which is right below it, is something that is going to be passively unlocked for us as well. And this is something that we should make people aware of right off the get-go. So what is the Martial Spirit? The Martial Spirit is this guy right here, the Martial Spirit Shard. Be aware of your Martial Shards. You're going to see, for Strikers only, you're going to see this guy on your UI somewhere. And this, you're going to want to have some, just make sure you're aware of where this is. You're going to see 3 black circles in this, and the black circles are going to represent empty slots. So in order for this to get filled, you may notice that along the way of fighting in PvP, along doing combos, or in grinding, you're going to see each black hole fill up with a speck of light. As this fills up, this will eventually get full. When this gets full, you're able to use a move that you can apply a speed buff to yourself that will allow you to deal moves faster as well as move faster. Also be aware that you can use the Martial Shards as they fill up as additional dashes for the Striker. So I mean that by movement. So that's one of the first moves that we're going to talk about here. Our very first move for the Striker is our Flash Step. And you're going to see that on the skill tree it says Invincible while using. It says without cooldown or consuming stamina, it's a super armor. Let me read that again. Consumes 10 Martial Spirit Shards to use the skill without cooldown or consuming stamina. It's a super armor when consuming a Martial Spirit Shard. So the Flash Step for the Striker is our dash in Pre-Awakening, which looks like this. When this move is off its cooldown, this move says that it is invincible while using, representing that this move is actually an iframe. Meaning that if you use this off cooldown, this is an invincible way to maneuver in combat. This is an invincible mechanic to potentially position yourself for a potential good given moment. Night Strike, do you want to say anything on this?
Not really. Obviously, there is vulnerability frames in the skill. It is not a complete iframe, and anyone that plays with higher ping will notice this more. The ending part of that dash has a slight little layback, like he kind of comes to a halt. It is completely open, so I would not guarantee that you're safe if you're engaging. But other than that, it's best probably used as an engage versus disengage, because the start is also an unsafe beginning. The only real safe iframe is the middle part, as the skill implies, while using. As you're moving is the actual iframe. The ending and the beginning are an open spot.
Wonderful. With the Martial Spirit Shards filling up, what we discussed about, what we talked about earlier, this will fill up one by one. When your dash is off cooldown and that invincible iframe opportunity is gone, when it's on cooldown, you can dash additional times by the consumption of 1 Martial Spirit per dash. Every dash that consumes a Martial Spirit Shard past that point is then a super armor. So let me go ahead and let me see. Can we fill up Martial Spirit Shards with the dummies here?
Yep.
All right, so we have a Martial Spirit Shard right there. I want you to take notice that my character in Pre-Awaken can only dash once, and the move is on cooldown. This time, we're going to notice that we can dash twice. And you'll notice that on the second dash, that consumed a Martial Spirit Shard. That is a super armor on the second dash. The first dash would have been an iframe. If you guys don't understand what forward blocked and super armors and iframes are, I'll also link a video in the description down below that talks about that, so you can go check that out and then revisit this video right at this point. Moving on into the skill tree. So let's talk about the next move on the right, Silent Step. Nightstrike, can you give us some information on this?
This one here is kind of a mixed review, especially among the strikers. Its ending is a lot more vulnerable. A lot of people find that the skill is just worthless entirely. There is a pro to it though, is that the beginning part of this is actually a full protection iframe. Unlike the normal silent flash step, where the opening in the beginning is kind of vulnerable, I've found over a lot of time, a lot of people will agree when they've actually thought about it, the initial hop up to probably upside down angle, like your head's facing the ground, is completely safe. However, afterwards, there is a massive opening and you have a slight animation lock on landing where you cannot do skills. So if, say, a Maehwa or a Musa is fast enough to stub arrow you or just being close ready to CC, there isn't a lot you can do. High frame rate will help, but it is kind of one of those iffy situations. Best probably used against a grab.
Yeah, and I find myself with that move, I am one of those people that really enjoys it because I do feel it's a time and place kind of move. My favorite times to use it would be if I'm engaging too much and I don't have anything and I need to get out. I find that it's a good move to potentially get out of a situation you may be too close into. And other than that, I can use a dash after that to get away. Other times I like to use it, I like to see if I can position myself in a way that can get me into a potential grab with somebody. We can't fight one another in this area that we're currently in, but I use, the only time I find myself using that is as a positional move, but I do find myself feeling protected when it's used in the right time and place. And I do agree
definitely.
that sometimes it can also be a double-edged sword and it can come back your way. Let's move on to the next move here. We have Fist of True Strength, and I know you and I think, are going to have an indifference of opinion on this move. I'd like to hear your opinion on this one.
There's only one use for it, and that is to animation cancel into Twisted or Mass Destruction during an engage. If you do watch my character here, without using Fist of Fury, I will try and do Mass Destruction immediately.
I know. Okay, hang on. Oh, I see. Oh, okay, and I see.
So there is a slight delay, as you'll notice that my dash actually has to complete before I can do Mass Destruction. Now, if I add in a Fist of Fury, Fist of True Strength, there is no more delay.
You can cancel it whenever you like.
Correct. And that goes for the same with Twisted Collision. If I do Twisted Collision, I have to physically wait for the dash to finish, but adding in a Fist of True Strength, I don't. So while it is completely unsafe, it's more of one of those surprise attacks. There's a lot of tools, I suppose, and a lot of kits in the game that are purely used as that. Like, they're not designed to be a safety mesh or anything like that. They're just designed so we can kind of cover up a lot of our holes. Like, obviously, Mass Destruction.
This is why I love having you here, because we're going to have different answers for this one, for a move like this. The only time that I find myself using it is not for the animation cancel. I do it to extend my dash, as well as get an additional speed boost, which you and I are both aware of the speed boost. But I find myself that when I do the dash and let it finish and then left click right at the end of the dash, I actually get an extended few feet. There are times where you can do your dash and turn around and left click, and you can yo-yo yourself and actually go back the other way. There's a really tricky way of maneuvering it, and you can sometimes get, and while the move, when you left click and use this, or sorry, when you use the move itself, the Fist of True Strength, as soon as you use that, that is unprotected. So if people clip you, you're setting yourself up for potential failure, but there are times and places where, like, I could change the direction of my dash surprisingly and make a 90-degree angle, do a 180. I can extend my dash, and at the same time, there are moments where if you catch someone on it, it is also a CC. Here, let's go in the combat arena.
Now, I'll be honest, I've actually never thought of that. That is something I've never even considered.
This is why I wanted to have more than one opinion in the room for this. because you and I are going to explain some different things and topics on this, and I think that's the best way to go about this. So with that being said, let's say that we're going ahead, we're doing our stuff, and we're doing our dashes, whatever, and then I have a moment where maybe I even just happen to get a good catch. You're CC'd right there. It's very short, tremendously short, but it gives me an opportunity to, let's say, come in, tap you, damage you, and then maybe grab you if the a move I did was not a CC after. The second one I did there was not the right choice. But you get what I'm saying. There's an opportunity to treat this like an open canvas.
Yeah. Like the few times that I've actually accidentally hit someone, I often try and just go straight into Nehammer Spiral Cannon, as it's just one left-click move. Like I don't have to change anything. But yeah, it is definitely something I never considered, was actually just changing your direction with the dash.
It can turn into a viable movement skill, because there are times I find where you can go in, you want to go backwards, right? But right there, you've wasted 2 potential iframes, right? If a person is not close enough or engaging on you, sometimes you can make the decision to get that space back and give yourself even more space. The cool thing is that Striker has really unique ways of maneuvering around placement, I find, and we have a lot of iframes and super armors that complement that, but we do have some openers that can help in addition with that. So there is an advanced answer on that. Take that as you will, because some people find this skill to also be completely useless, and I understand why. Okay, now let's not talk about the next skill. The next skill, Tayback Kick. Strikers, don't use this.
Lock it. Don't even consider it. Leave it unleveled, lock, forget.
Don't level it up. And also along this way, you guys are going to notice that my skill tree is filled up with all these moves. I want to let you guys know that I have every skill unlocked. So please don't take my skill tree into consideration of what you should do. But Tayback Kick, oh God, lock that. Don't use it. You're never going to use it. Do you have anything else to contribute on that? Because I don't.
Look at that awesome damage, bud. Yeah, that's...
I wasn't even fully healed. Okay, before we go down to Tayback Kick, I feel like we missed one thing here, which is something you should lock. I'm going to lock this on this character we've created. The evasion. On every class, this should be locked. The evasion does absolutely nothing for you. It doesn't protect you. It actually slows you down and makes it easier for people to engage on you. No class should be using this, and even though you feel like you might be dodging when you're rolling, you're not.
That's pretty much it.
Okay, so let's talk about the triple flying kick.
This is a pretty easy one, I'd assume you'd agree. Get it to level 4 and just use it as a pre-buff. That's about it, really.
Yep, so if you use this move once, I get this to level 4, and if you use this move once, it will apply an accuracy increase rate, a movement speed buff by 30% for a short period of time for 5 seconds, and for 10 seconds, it's going to give you a 9% increase on your evasion. If you complete the full animation, you will also get all of these buffs, including a 10-second AP buff, a 10-second plus 10 AP buff. So it is good to sometimes start a fight with somebody using your full buff, and then you have 10 seconds to engage with that plus 10 AP. Anything else you want to contribute on that?
No, that's pretty much the only use for it.
And also be aware, it also consumes 10 stamina per kick. So be aware of that. If you're not being able to finish your triple flying kick and you're wondering what's going on, it could be your stamina consumption. Okay, now let's talk about the adamantine, and let's talk about the one beside it as well. Let's talk about mass destruction. After that, we're going to work our way up to crouching wolf. So let's talk about adamantine.
Okay, so I know you have it unlocked. It is not something that I would recommend at least beginners to get in the habit of using. It can interfere with things like your dash into mass destruction. Yep. As you can see right there,
it can.
I couldn't go into mass destruction because I used adamantine first. There is timings that you can do that kind of doesn't cause that, but I find, especially for a beginner, it is easy just to lock it. The skill has a place, but I don't think it pops very often. What about you, man? I know you grind with it, but
I grind with it and I PvP with it actually. And I agree with you. It's one of those ones where I think a little bit more situational awareness on this one matters. Adamantine is labeled as a forward guard. Forward guard meaning it is a protective skill in the direction that you are facing. It comes down to timing on this one. Timing is everything on this, and there's nothing else to say on it. It's a time and place move. If it lands on a good hit, it is a CC move, so it can apply a stun onto somebody. And that is about it. I find I really like using this skill when I'm grinding as like an in-between move between certain powerful hitters. We'll talk about that in a bit. But other than that, the only way that this is going to ever protect you is if you are properly aiming your guard and timing this when it's off its cooldown. Other than that, when it does work, you are diminishing a lot of damage that can come your way. One of my favorite times to use it is when I recognize a class using a high damage move, and I just come in and I use it, and then maybe after I'll use Twisted Collision, because that move itself is also a forward guard. I'll try to do 2 forward guards. I can diminish damage, and I can go potentially into, potentially have CC'd them, or just go into like a mid-combat damage dealer to chip away at somebody until my CCs are readily available again. So it's going to be one of those debatable ones that I know some people are going to be fickle with. I do like using that move itself. Now, Mass Destruction...
I'm surprised...
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Before you do that, I'm surprised you didn't mention the, I guess you can call it like a BM move, is the backhand slap stun.
Oh, that's right. I did forget to mention that. Thanks for bringing that up. So when you use Adamantine as well on your dash, so let's do Adamantine first. Regular Adamantine goes forward. When you do Adamantine on your dash, it goes backwards. And I believe that backwards is also a forward guard. Like that guard is the way that you're facing. The elbow is going. I can't necessarily confirm that, but I have sometimes. And I know you say BM, but there are times where placement's everything, and you can land a proper Adamantine, CC someone backwards. But that comes down to a very strategic type of placement, and also tremendously not reliable, but it has to be well thought of.
Yeah, I used to use it back in the day where I was just trying to be a troll back in the original CC design, which it's irrelevant now, so there's no point really discussing it. But yeah, it wasn't something I would say was exactly a...
It's why everyone hated us.
Move.
Okay,
yes.
So now let's talk about Crouching Wolf. This move, go ahead, you cover this.
Look, it's our pretty much starter for almost anything. It is also a super armor. It gives us 10% attack speed, and if you do have the 3 martial, well, technically 30, each little light is represented as 10 chi or 10 shards. But if you do have your little martial spirit thing fully lit up and you consume it, it does 2 things. Instead of giving you a 10% attack speed, it'll actually give you a 20% attack speed increase. On saying that as well, it'll also provide an AoE stiffness while super armored around you, which can potentially be a nice bait. So, for example, if you're already in, say, a lingering mass
so long
destruction,
as you also have the prey hunt, the flow of
of course, yes.
Crouching Wolf unlocked as well. But go on, sorry.
Yes. So yeah, basically, it's one of those decent ones where you can pretty much be in a linger, which we'll discuss a bit later, and someone comes up to try and grab you, or just use an unprotected ability, and you just press space, and it's an easy start. It also allows 2 continual CCs afterwards, which is just a part of the CC mechanic, as the stiff is not quite a full point into our mechanic, our CC design. So it can still allow you, say, from a stiff here, to do a full grab engage and do whatever combo you need to do without worrying about a missing CC. Other than that, unless we're talking about the extra damage that will come down to later skills, there isn't anything else besides just making sure you've always got the 10% attack speed up. And that's pretty much it, really.
And the last thing that I want to bring up is it's also a really good movement skill. If you use Crouching Wolf and go backwards, you can dash. And the cool thing about that is that you will go backwards depending on where you're facing. So in fights, sometimes I will use my Crouching Wolf and I'll try to do a 180 and dash. And it can be a really good placement skill depending on where you are facing. Striker has a lot of moves and evasion skills that sometimes can put himself backwards, and you can be very zigzaggy with him if you desire to be like that. So be aware that it is also a movement skill, but moving backwards is unprotected. So
there is actually a small portion of that is an iframe, and I've only noticed that with the fact that you can literally desync out of grabs or not get CC'd at some points.
okay,
I don't know what point of it is.
if it's a tremendously small window. So would you be open to agreeing that it can be an iframe, but at the same time, you could potentially get knocked out of it?
Don't rely on it.
Don't rely on it.
I wouldn't say use it as something that you can guarantee, but I have in multiple cases before and after CC patch, just not even actually as a situationally like preparing for the grab or whatnot, just using it as a super armor coat out, say my rage hammer or whatnot, and I've pressed S to try and go back, and I've had a warrior solar flare grab me, and it's caused that sort of desync where you're in a grab, you're not in a grab sort of effect, so I can get right out of his combo and not take a lot of damage. So there's definitely a portion of it that is complete iframe. I just wouldn't really go so far as to say you can time that.
Okay. All right. This is let's keep going because we have a lot to cover and only so much time to do this in. So ankle hook. I don't use this. I don't use this in grinding. I don't use this in PvP. I have it unlocked just cuz, but I don't use this. What about yourself?
Yeah. I've locked Adamantine, so the skills beneath it don't go any further.
I understand. Okay. And then as well with Deva King here, I don't use this. Maybe in the beginning in grinding when you don't have too much to use in your skill tree, just having more routes of delivering damage to mobs might be an option. But as far as I would go, I would consider locking both of these. And then again, Adamantine is going to be a personal preference thing based on you. I keep it unlocked because I enjoy having protection skills, so long as you know the mechanic of your class. And again, placement is everything. So let's go down one more point. We have the move Savage Fang, and then we have.
We actually did discuss mass destruction.
Oh, we didn't talk about mass destruction. My apologies. Oh, thank you. Okay, let's. Oh yes, mass destruction. So, mass destruction. This is a movement skill as well as a super armor. And I know that this right here is a super armor if you cancel it, but as soon as you stop here, it's no longer a super armor. And it's also a lingering super armor, so meaning that the protection of super armor lingers after the full animation of the move is completed. The literal full animation of mass destruction has to be completed. 1, 2, 3 hits there, the kick, and now it's a super armor. Do you see how? See that? So he has done two moves, I believe, that would have CC'd me there. 3. Well, yeah. Anyways, I would have been CC'd there. So let's try this again. So I'm going to use mass destruction and cancel this, and I want you to try to CC me. Mass destruction. Knee hammer isn't a CC.
Yeah.
Mass destruction.
Stiff.
Oh, stiff. Okay. So you'll notice that right after using this move, I was knocked back. We performed the lingering super armor. And damage is being diminished, and I am still able to move around during these times. Let's do that one more time. Sorry, I hit you there.
Stunned.
No worries. Let's try this again. Go ahead.
Cooldown, maybe?
Might not have done that right. Let's try this again. Go ahead. Perfectly fine. So this also gives me the opportunity that if he's doing something like that, lingering super armor, he's engaging on me. Might be a little late there. Let's try this again. Ready? Do that super armor. He engages on me. I'm a grab class. He gets too close to me and does that. I'm going to grab him. Now it's my turn, right?
Definitely one of our more useful baits.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to cover on this move, which is a lingering super armor?
Don't abuse its linger. As you'll notice, if you look on Fake's screen, if you do the lingering, your regen on stamina is halted for the entire animation. If you've been dashing around, doing like all your moves and whatnot, and then you decide that you're going to go into a linger, if I'm on 70% stamina, I will remain at 70% stamina until the animation finishes or I start moving. So it can cause you to no longer be able to move. You'll have no stamina left to dash or anything if you abuse it. So I would not carelessly do it, specifically against dash classes where you're going to be going at them a lot. Your stamina is going to be important to use.
All right. I have nothing else to contribute on that. Moving down, so let's go into Hidden Claw and then moving into Savage Fang as well. I'm just going to start by saying this. There's only one time that I ever use this, and that's all I'm going to say so far. I feel like you have locked this.
I actually don't. I use it very sparingly, and I use it again more for a BM combo, just for memes, but I wouldn't advise beginners to use it.
I wouldn't advise against really using this as well. In my opinion, since the skill itself has labeled invincible while evading backwards, I have a feeling that this move is a very small iframe. I'm going to go ahead, and I completely forgot to turn on my keyboard UI, but it's a good time to turn it on now. And you'll notice that in the skill tree itself, the full combo and animation does a full fist move like that. The 2 fist moves right there. So we'll try this one more time after the cooldown is done. So 1, 2. That's the flow. I don't perform any of those hits. You can actually quite literally just dash backwards. My opinion is there is a tremendously small gap in this move. A tremendously small gap in this move. That is an iframe and a protective skill. And there is a time and place where you can potentially use it. I only find myself when I want to use this is in an additional movement and placement. We mentioned earlier that Crouching Wolf, you can dash backwards. Well, if you use the same move and dash backwards again, you can get yourself a little bit more space. And for anyone that's on PC that has the Rabam skills, we're going to talk about those later, you can go backwards, dash backwards, get more backwards. Now you have Awakening, Spiral Cannon. Then you can use your Rampaging Assault. By the way, in Awakening, you get 3 dashes without the Martial Spirit Shard. Like, there's a lot of things you can do to complement the overall movement of Striker, and I find that that move alone is simply meant for just that. That's it. I consider this move, Hidden Claw, a dash backwards, and that's all I treat it as. Do you have anything else you want to contribute on this in terms of like you just having it as a BM combo? Do you find it as sometimes like a reliable CC on people? Because I don't ever.
I mean, the float is great if you're looking at a class in a 1v1 only situation that has a lot of resist. And I do like the fact that it's the also only reliable set by set quote 100% down smash ability. Well, saying that, and it doesn't actually down smash.
It's fine.
Well, air smash, whatever it's meant to be. But yeah, so other than that, there isn't really anything else you can use it for. Like, it is just pure BM. Like, I don't see a purpose for it in grinding. I don't see a purpose for it in PvP. The iframe, as you say, it's small. I wouldn't rely on it, but it is there if you've got low ping and you can time something.
Yep, and have good frames in the game as well. So let's move over to Massive Suppression. Let's talk about the Striker Grab, the thing that everyone hates Striker for. Our grab. Now, the good thing about this is that when applying this grab, it's also a super armor. So if you're using this grab and there's other people potentially, there's a 1vx situation going on, this is a super armor, and if someone has some sort of lingering damage going on around you or AoE effect going on around you, it can help with those types of situations. It can resist the CCs if you have like tamers and their pets maybe potentially poking at you. This being said, there's 2 different types of animations for this. You have the full animation of 1, 2, and the 3rd hit knocking your opponent out of your hands. And you also can shorten this by hitting your, I believe it's your right, is it your right mouse button?
Yes.
I don't ever shorten this. So then on Xbox, I believe this would probably be right trigger, is what I'm thinking of. And then you can do this and shorten. Oh, if I've grabbed this and land this, you can shorten the time of the grab. I have an opinion in regards to this though, because I don't think you're ever going to want to shorten the grab like that. The reason why I feel that way is because if you're fighting against a class that has applied any sort of like slow to you, bleed to you, burn to you, pardon me, this grab takes quite a while to get through. you can sometimes add a couple extra seconds of nullifying a debuff towards you. So whenever I have like a wizard that has stacked slow buffs on me, I'm trying to like move around and dash around because those are the fastest movement skills that I have available when I'm so slow. And if I can land a grab on a class that has slowed me down, your punches and animation of that grab there is going to be slow as well. So imagine doing this 3 times slower. Imagine how valuable that animation then becomes in that situation. You can sometimes help yourself combat those debuffs in those situations.
I can actually give you a demonstration. If I give you Skull Crusher, it should give you a 20% attack debuff.
Yeah, I got that right there. 1, 2, 3. And already he's on the ground. I can keep him on the ground a little longer. Now my debuffs are gone. For example, so keep something like that in mind. That is the only time that I find myself using this. Or sorry, using it for that. Other than that, like your grab is an amazing opener for quite literally all of your combos. If you can get your pre-awaken specifically, grab off first, this is going to be the literal best opener for all of your combinations. And we'll talk about PvP combos later. Nightstrike, do you have anything to add or feel like I might have missed anything on that one?
Look, the only opinion I would have, I guess, on the cancelling of that is against classes that I would say are quite tanky. You want to dish out as much damage as you can, and that does allow 2 pots to happen. If you grab someone, they pot now, they're able to pot again. So you've done very minimal damage to them while they've had a chance to heal at a 45% increase as well due to the CC. What's that? 500 HP, so 1000 HP has already gone up from that tank class. Having the ability just to cancel it once and then go straight into your attack could prove probably a little bit more. But again, it's only in a 1v1. You don't do combos in Siege. But other than that, yeah, there's no real relevance to cancel the animation.
I'm happy you mentioned that. That's something I actually have never considered. Okay, well, let's move on. So we have Crimson Fang moving into Bloody Fang. And then we have Combo Hurricane. And we also have the Explosive Blow. We have Venom Fang, the Combo Final Blow. We have Death Strike. We have Flow Bombardment. Oh my god, there's so many flows off this one move. Let's keep this whole entire chunk very simple. Knight, I'll let you start us off on this, and then I'm going to go into my opinion on this section of an area.
Easy. Quickest way I can explain it, don't bother with Bombardment. It's the skill right after Death Strike. However, Death Strike is our most potent DP debuff. Use it as much as possible as an engage into any form of combo starting from a grab. It is simply done by holding Shift RMB. And if you're in pre-awakening like an Xbox user, this will be, which we'll discuss later, one of your more stronger combos that you can do from initiating in a grab. Other than that, that's really about it.
And for an example, for anyone that still may not understand, this move specifically is your most valuable move to use after a grab. Pre-awaken grab specifically, whether it's shortened or whatever, because that right there on this literal second elbow, let's do the move one more time, it does 2 hits, 1, 2. That second elbow applies a defensive debuff to your opponent. Can you do that on me, please? Thank you. And the defensive debuff lowers their DP by 20 points and their movement speed by 4% only.
The movement speed's my add-on,
is that your add-on? Okay, I apologize.
Just
okay.
the 20%.
Your defensive, it lowers their defense by 20 points. And that is huge. So if you can imagine having that kind of DP reduced for somebody and then dealing your heaviest hitter onto someone, that can apply a lot of potential damage onto somebody. Now, with that being said, bombardments, the reason why you'd want that locked is because if I have it unlocked, you do 3 moves. And that third move, while it's a CC and it knocks them down, engaging in the beginning of that move is unprotected. And if you waste, yes, I'm going to say waste your next CC in that sort of regard, you're going to have your combos and the damage you deal shorter and smaller. So it's important to have just the second hit of this combo available. And then talking about Combo Hurricane, I don't think you are ever going to use this. I keep it unlocked because it looks cool, and because on my main character, I have the luxury of having high AP. So sometimes it's fun to just try to finesse on people, depending on the situation. But other than that, like, this, in my opinion, should be locked. I think that Venom Fang and then into Combo Final Blow, I think this is an important thing to have unlocked because I use this literally all the time in PvE. This right here is all right in certain PvP combos, and I've seen this used in the Striker Discord in some people's combos that they prefer in Pre-Awakening. And the reason why I also encourage you to go to the Striker Discord is because you're going to see lots of displays of different combos and things that people like, and there's going to be people that enjoy using this in their tree. I'm one of those people that only uses this in PvE. I think this is a great thing to have unlocked if you have some higher Pre-Awaken AP, or if you have Pre-Awaken only. It's just a good flow of damage to keep the repetitiveness of damage being dealt to monsters going, keeps the flow going well. It's a good move to throw in between certain things, I find. There it is, I'm performing it right now, that you could do lots of other things that I like throwing it. So I like having that in my mix. Night Strike, anything else to add on that one?
Not really. I would say Bloody Fang is definitely like one of your more important buffs that you can do. It will give you that extra 5% crit, which is worth 1 crit if you're looking at your crit, attack speed, movement speed, all that sort of stuff. 5% is basically 1 line up already. But other than that, no, we've covered all bases. Keep Bombardment locked, get the rest of the skills, don't bother with Hurricane, and you're good to go for Pre-Awakening.
Very happy you mentioned that, man. Okay, so going through, we have we have Fist Fury. I keep saying Absolute. We have Fist Fury here. I never use this.
Nope, never.
I would recommend actually having this locked. The reason why it's unlocked on this trial character is because I forgot to lock it. The only time you may use this right now is potentially in grinding on Xbox, because this just might be a nice additional thing to throw in your mix, so depending on what you're fighting. But in most cases, I don't think you're going to find yourself using this too much. In some of your combinations and flows in PvP, potentially, I don't see too many reliable situations of that. I'm open to being wrong, though. And if you guys have any criticism to throw in the mix of this, please feel free to throw your contributions and your Striker knowledge into the comment section.
It doesn't have a cooldown.
I have nothing else to cover on this one. Yourself?
No, I just realized it doesn't even have a cooldown, but interesting. Yeah, other than that, no.
I have it locked here. Bear with.
Like,
the whole move itself is
hypothetically
unprotected, though. Like, it's a very long cast to get to that point. And even casting that CC, like, I think people are going to be able to break through it with a super armor and a forward guard that has a good hit on it as well. So I feel like you're going to set yourself up for failure if you think you can land that. So if you do, I would consider it a BM move.
That's definitely a BM move.
All right, so this is a tremendously important move, and also it is not. So this is one of those ones which is debatable as well. We're going to move to our right, and we're going to move on to Wolf's Hunger. I would love to hear your opinion on this one, because I feel like we're going to have a difference of opinions on this move.
Alright, so I'm going to reveal a little secret here that not a lot of strikers are aware of. Some do, some don't. Wolf's Hunger, okay. Slow, unprotected on the actual attack, but it does apply a stun. Alright, so if you actually look at it here, there are 3 kicks. You can cancel those kicks at any time by just pressing the S key on your keyboard.
Stepping backwards?
By stepping backwards, yep. Now, obviously, there is a few things you need to be aware of. The initial start of it, where you start winding up into the skill, is completely unsafe. The only time you're safe is during the transition between each kick.
So basically when you disappeared for that millisecond.
Yeah. Now, the trick I like to use, which a lot of people aren't aware of, is the ability to get behind an opponent by doing it. A lot of people not actually aware of how to do it. You can do it one of 2 ways. If you're on a keyboard and mouse, you can use your mouse keys. I've never really perfected the mouse key movement. Or, while you're starting the animation up, you can move your camera 180 degrees. Your first kick, which will be still at the front, will face the wrong way. So if the person is aware of what you're doing, it is pretty much GG for you. But if they don't, or they're trying to get away from you, a forward guard, which is a lot of the time what Mooses and Maywers do, is going to be completely ignored because you'll be attacking from back. It is also very good against those said classes that are trying to run away because it will keep up with them. Say witches, wizards, they double teleport or teleport on Xbox. You'll just follow them. And like I say, if it does land, it is a CC like a stun, so you can follow up with a full combo chain and get a lot of damage out.
Okay. Okay, for me,
So that's pretty much it.
I consider this skill an advanced movement skill. The reason why I say this is because you can use this as a dodge backwards. I have feeling that the dodge backwards when missed is but now I'm not casting my ultimate. I have this feeling that the dodge backwards is either a super armor or an iframe, but this is just me and my own theory. I'm most definitely probably wrong.
Dang it, it's too big.
But it is, regardless, I think it is an iframe because it says invincible on the movement, and if you notice that if you don't cast the move on anybody and you move backwards, you do go invisible, right? So considering that would be an iframe. Try to hit me on this and let's just see. This is just my theory, but I'm going to get into of what I mean here in a second. You ready?
Yep.
It's not doing it.
Shift F.
I know. It's not doing it. Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. I was hitting shift left.
Okay.
I was hitting shift left.
I know.
Shift left. Like, not even thinking about it. Even people in the video
that's what I told
like,
you.
Oh,
I was
these
like,
stupid ooks don't even know how to hit the keyboards. Good old unedited videos. Okay. Anyways, so what I mean by advanced movement skill is on top of this move being casted, and it can be applied as a CC on a good hit. You can also dash. There are 3 kicks in the full animation. Let's watch the 3 kicks. After the 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Out of those 3 kicks, if you hold backwards at any point, you will dash out of one of those 3 kicks. So for example, let's try to get out on the second kick. So first kick, we're out. That would be the second kick would have been then. Let's try to get out on the third kick after this. You guys pretty much know what I'm saying. We'll do one more example, and then I'm going to talk about my opinions on the movement. So 1, 2, third kick, right? And I'm dashed backwards. You may notice that he has been CC'd, stunned. With that being said, here's how I feel about movement. There are a time and place where you're going to be battling a class as a close engage class. Those classes are longer range or they're faster. Their movement provides them with the ability to have more distance. If you notice that when I'm looking away, I have my aimer here, but if I have my aimer on a character, you may notice the auto aim help puts a red marker on that person. I call that locking on. When you lock on to a player from almost anywhere, you can use this move and get close to them. There are times where if you lock on to a Musa or Maehwa and they're dashing by super quickly, but if you get that lock on a perfect time, it will follow them for the whole move animation of where they're going. Let's try to get an example of you just running or dashing or something.
I'm gonna do Rage Hammer. I'm gonna linger it. You kick me first, and then I'm gonna spiral away and see if you can catch me.
Okay. Just like that. And I've actually CC'd you on that as well. So be aware that it is a really great chasing tool. Now this is why I say advanced movement, because if you intentionally, and if you're in a 1v1, let's say there's no mobs around, it's a nice beautiful open field. If you have no mobs around, you can aim the other direction and you can move with it by again aiming backwards. So I could off cooldown, I'm gonna try to position myself where he is. So I aim away, do it, aim backwards, and here I am by him. So in transition, you could do something like, oh, I don't know, let's try to do, once this is off cooldown, we'll do this, go backwards, do this, go backwards, go backwards. Remember the iframe moves that were, and the backwards dash from Crouching Wolf? Look how much space we've given ourselves with just those 3 moves in pre-awaken. So again, this is to me, this is a time and place move, but it is a finesse move that you can do to position yourself again. And in certain case scenarios, remember that there is a little bit of a delay before you can do something else, but it's not huge. But in some case scenarios, you can position yourself to set people up for failure. And people don't expect Striker to use this, because I don't see Strikers use it for this reason, because it's a hard one to get down. If you lock on a mob, you're gonna teleport yourself to other mobs, and you're gonna sometimes it's like you're Spider-Man casting your web and going to other things. And there's times where you can fight someone and use your surroundings to your advantage with this move as just simply an evasion or movement or placement move. The only time that I would consider using this as trying to CC somebody is on the very first kick. In the very beginning, we talked about how there's 3 kicks and you can cancel it. I would recommend trying to get 1 kick off and dashing backwards. Other than that, if you're going to let the move fully cast, I would consider only doing it in a chase, and I would only consider it using the movement in very situational based, and I would not rely on it. So that is just my opinion, taking away from some of the finesses of that move, and that's my overall opinion of it. And I know there's some Strikers out there that have that locked, and I think you're crazy for it, but I also understand why. And be aware that on your kicks, to remind you guys, your kicks, those kicks, every time I'm kicking, that is also unprotected. So if a class applies a super armor of some sort, go ahead and do, let's do like Rage Hammer, and then try to like grab me out of it, okay? So
I'm gonna do Mass Destruction.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, let me know when all your cooldowns are done.
All right, 3, 2, 1, Rage Hammer.
So see what I mean? So this move is not a reliable protection skill. It's a good selective choice engager and a potential finesse. So keep that in mind and take that information as you will. Okay, let's move on into the next one. There is a lot to cover here, but this is why this video is so long, because I want to give you as much as I possibly can to help you guys. Okay, so we have Knee Hammer, and we have Stalking Wolf. On top of that, we have Rock Smash, and we have Tornado Kick. Let's cover this whole chunk and section. I'll let you take away this part, because I've been talking for a bit here.
Oh, good. Look, honestly, Knee Hammer, it's one of those weird ones. It is something I'd like people to max because it is just simply an easy movement ability. It used to have forward guard, which is great, but nowadays I often just use it in a combo. Quite often with KDs or knockdowns, the target does move quite a distance away. This can help out in terms of closing the gap if you haven't anything else. It can be a surprise stun. The damage isn't too bad, but the main reason I would actually recommend leveling it up is because it does have the ability to go into a nice flow. The flows are Rock Smash, which is Shift LMB into RMB. I do not know what the commands are on Xbox. That entire position right now is a full lingering super armor. It is also one that regenerates your stamina. So if you are trying to look at lingers, this is something that will not gate your stamina regeneration. You will be able to fully linger. And it also has the Tornado Kick. Well, it's supposed to float, but effectively Tornado Kick is your hardest hitting CC ability in Pre-Awakening. It used to be, before the Strikers got their Awakening, our main damage dealer. As you can see, quite a chunk was taken out on his HP. And just so that people are aware, that's a 204 AP. That wasn't actually a full AP strike, that was just 204 AP. Which
is a really good just combo move in the mix of it too, because Striker's Pre-Awakening is relatively fast-paced, I find. So there are other moves that transition well with one another, and Tornado Kick really is one of those that I feel is a good one in the mix as well. And the cool thing about Tornado Kick, so you have, let's go back to the skill tree here. So we have Knee Hammer, we have Stalking Wolf, which is almost like a triple flying kick. This one is sometimes usable in PvE, but for the most part, I would really never use this. The only time I'll consider using this is in PvE. I wouldn't use this in PvP. Going down to Rock Smash and Tornado Kick, these two actually tie into one another as well, because you can do not only the Tornado Kick, you can also have the Rock Smash and hold F and do Tornado Kick after. The danger with that, I find, though, is that you're wasting 2 CCs. Like, guaranteed in that combo. Your CCs now are gone. I'm not going to be able to grab him. I'm not going to be able to get him with Rage Hammer. So if in the situation of a fight, I would be very careful of when you want to use the flow of Tornado Kick after Rock Smash. I would either recommend using one of the two. The one of the two I would prefer using is Rock Smash because of the lingering and because of the super armor. And then Tornado Kick I would use in a different situation of like hanging on to a CC. So we have the debuff. I'm going to do a damage dealer. Then I'm going to do Tornado Kick, keeping him in that CC. Maybe get some more damage. Now I'm going to try to get out of here. Just food for thought. Just food for thought. Anything you want to contribute on that one?
Okay, not really on the actual skill, but more on just the surprise attack. Stalking Wolf. For the longest time, I only learnt about that particular move probably a year after the actual Striker was released. I just never used the ability. Stalking Wolf, fully unprotected, no CC, but a decent gap closer. So you can obviously take quite a distance. It is apparently looking like a desync. Like, people don't really get to see the move. It just kind of is like a surprise in your face. There is a subtle animation lock you cannot move from, so I would take that move sparingly. If someone knows the class, don't do it, but it is something that I can do sometimes as an engage. We're about to say R up, yep, ready, boom, and then I start moving. It's just a surprise attack, but other than that, it's no use. Don't absolute it, it's not worth the absolute. Unless you're Fake, which has 2,700
just
points.
Grab me out of this. So this is one of those case scenarios where someone knows the class, and I've set myself up for failure.
Yeah, but other than that, it's like, yeah, don't absolute the skill. It's not worth the damage. It is purely just a surprise. Hi, I'm in your face type of thing, and hopefully the person doesn't know that you just did that, and they expect you to desync or complain about something. I don't know.
Now, let's talk about Somersault.
Yay.
This is one that, again, this is one of those, you should, in most cases, have this locked. The Rising Blast combo, that is, it is a super armor, but the very first beginning portion of this move is unprotected. So this is unprotected, but everything else is a super armor. It's not a lingering, and it has a very open gap to being taken out of. So now that's a super armor, and it can also be a CC. But that being said, like, there's just, okay, when I say an open gap to be taken out of, I more mean of, it's a really, it keeps you in one place. Like, if anyone knows the class, it's easily recognizable of when to put yourselves in that position. The other thing, too, is that it is a CC. It can get someone in a fight. The second kick is also a CC. Like, so if I miss the first one, if they engage, the second kick can be a CC as well when people come in and engage on you. And it's one of those, I find this move to be more of a bait move, but it's really hard to bait people into it. It's not, that's just kind of how I feel about it. I keep it unlocked because in PvE, this is one of our moves that recovers the most energy. If you do the full entire combination, you will actually recover a really great amount of energy. And also, let's go back to the very beginning when we were talking about Adamantine and you keep it unlocked. You keep it locked. I also keep Adamantine unlocked because sometimes if I run low on energy, I will spam Adamantine against mobs and I will recover energy with just that move alone. I found when grinding that Somersault and Adamantine, or Adamantine, are the two of the biggest energy recovering moves in the Striker's skill tree. That's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. If you feel there's other moves that you rely on more, throw that in there. I also rely on just the Striker's, like, simple left click is also a really good recovering one because, like, his casting animation is very quick and fast. Yeah. So take that with a grain of salt as well. But the Somersault, in most cases from Strikers, I hear way more occasions of people locking this move than keeping it unlocked. So take it with a grain of salt, my opinion, because I'm not necessarily the world's greatest striker here. I'm not at all. But it's good to keep in the grind if you're running like low on pots or don't want to use energy pots or anything like that. That's about the best case scenario that I found for it.
That's pretty much spot on. Only one thing.
Mm-hmm.
CC me on the damn it. Didn't mean to CC there. The landing part of Rising Blast is actually a very nice linger. You won't be CC'd out of it at all. If you want to try and CC me out of that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. It's a lingering super armor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, look at that. I never knew that. I can already see people like preparing to type down the comments saying, you didn't know of this about this when you're making a comment. Awesome. I'm really happy you mentioned that. Thank you.
All good.
All right. Good to know. Good to know. Okay, let's talk about Twisted Collision. Let's talk about Fatal Smash. Let's talk about Landslide. And let's talk about Nimbus Strike, because I feel like this chunk of the striker tree is going to be the easiest one actually to cover. I'm going to go ahead and start this one off. Our Twisted Collision is an uppercut. This is a forward guard, meaning a guard in the direction that you are facing. Really great for diminishing damage, a really great move to use after Adamantine, I find. That being said, everything else that you cast after it can be a super armor, except... oh, Nimbus Strike is... well, Nimbus Strike... correct me if I'm wrong, the super armor of Nimbus Strike is just for the flying animation. Like, as soon as you're on the ground, like, it's over. So it feels like an unreliable super armor. That being said, you have Fatal Smash and you have Landslide. So these are our somersault moves that are after Twisted Collision. Now, Fatal Smash is the one that does 2 slow, very slow casts like that, and there's no way to cancel it. That is the full animation. Our other one, which is 2 again, but it's in a different fashion of somersaults, this one can actually be canceled. You can, if you hold the trigger to cast the full animation, you'll do 2 flips, which is a super armor, or you can tap it and release it, and you will do 1, which is just a shorter cast of the animation. The reason why I mention this is because if someone knows the class, these 2 moves alone are really easy to determine where you're going to land, and thus easy to CC and easy to predict. If someone knows the class, I highly recommend, let me just ensure that I am saying the name correctly. I highly recommend using Fatal Smash if you're going to use one of the 2, because if you use the flow of the move, you'll have that long animation, or you could have the shorter animation. So what I'm saying is there's the potential to just throw someone off with that. That's why I prefer to use that one over the other. However, both of them are super armors off cooldown. So keep in mind, forward guard, the move is still in cooldown, now it's unprotected, and now I'm in a super armor. So keep that in mind. Nimbus Strike, which is our leg kick, which is casted after our Twisted Collision. This is a really great movement skill, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I wouldn't use this as a reliable trying to CC somebody, because yes, it can get someone on the ground, and it is nice when it happens, but the flying animation of that kick, while it is a super armor, literally as soon as you're on the ground, it's over. So I wouldn't rely on this in your super armor rotation unless you're doing one thing, and I'll talk about that in a second. So unprotected as soon as I'm on the ground. The only case where you're going to be unprotected is by rotating your super armors is by, in Awakening, casting your Skull Crusher after. And I'm just going to mention this briefly for PC players who are watching. If you use Nimbus Strike and hold the F key down, you will immediately cast and transition into Awakening and do your Skull Crusher. And that will help you keep that super armor active. That's the only thing that I really have to say on that. Night Strike, do you have anything else to add or correct me on?
No, not really. The only thing I would also add in terms to the transition, the unsafe landing, obviously on all 3 flows, can actually be mitigated completely on the flow Fatal Smash. So as you were talking about earlier, how we don't actually have to do the full animation of Fatal Smash, we can just do the 1 tap. We can actually mitigate landing at all and going straight into Skull Crusher. So if you do this...
and then hold F. Oh, that's right. I did forget to mention that. Thank you for correcting me on that one, too. Because you can actually go into Skull Crusher out of all 3 of those, and including just your uppercut. So, with that being said, you have Nimbus Strike to your Skull Crusher, which is an Awakening. Xbox players, don't mind this information right now. You have your cast, which this could then, as soon as I hit the ground, go into Skull Crusher. I'll show a demonstration of this. So the full cast into Skull Crusher. We'll wait for our cooldown on this one again. And you can do this off the animation cancel and on the full animation, and I will display both. So the full animation into Skull Crusher. We'll just wait a few more seconds here, and I appreciate everyone's patience through this. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cancel this. So the cancel into Skull Crusher, and I'm too short on energy pots. That's hilarious. The cancel into Skull Crusher, and then once again, the final one, you can do just your uppercut into Skull Crusher. And it is a great transitional skill sometimes, because if you get the CC, you can hit someone with the Skull Crusher, get some damage, get that second CC potentially off. So once again, yeah, that is a great transition into Awakening as well. I completely forgot to mention that. Thank you for saying that.
All good. Do we need to talk about sweeping kick?
Do we need to talk about, honestly? Okay. Sweeping kick, maybe. When you're starting out on console, you're going to be using this in your pre-awaken grind. The only time you're going to be using this in PvP is if you really just want to be a dick. I call this our ultimate BM move, because it's unprotected. It's tremendously hard to get a good hit on somebody with it, and if you do, it's really funny.
All right, I'm going to see something. Okay, that kind of works, I guess.
It kind of works, but it's not what you should go for. The only time I try to use it is on the first hit and seeing if I can like potentially slap somebody with it. But I think in every
It's an animation lock. I hate it. If only you could do the one sweep.
Yeah.
Like if that little sweep was the KD,
yeah,
it could be a niche move.
And then maybe like the second kick after was a flow.
Yeah.
Right.
Similar to how, like, if you look at Tayback Kick, there are 3 kicks. I know we don't want to use it, but you'll notice how it's 2 kicks and then that. You don't actually have to use the 3rd kick. You can just do the first 2 kicks. So, I mean, I wish it was similar to that. Then we could probably find a use for
Even
it.
Even if Tayback Kick was 1 kick, because then you could do, like, sweeping kick, 1 slap, a Tayback Kick. But that's not the case.
True.
So let's not veer off course here. So getting back to on
lock
topic.
It. Don't bother.
Lock it. This is for every case scenario, honestly, I think you should lock it. If you want to keep it on lock because you have an indifference of opinion, I understand, but in most cases, you should lock this, in almost every case. Okay, let's talk about Roaring Tiger. While this move is unprotected, this is our hardest hitter in pre-awakening.
Yeah, that again. Well, okay. I suppose I should correct myself earlier about the tornado kick.
Yep.
It's our hardest hitting
CC.
Reliable CC.
Yes.
Because the following 2 moves either don't CC or they're incredibly unreliable, but they do indeed hit harder than the aforementioned tornado kick.
So with this being said, some people still might be in here going CCs. They keep mentioning CCs. What are these CCs? Make sure you guys check out the videos that I've linked in the description below to help you understand more mechanics of this game. You have stuns, stiffnesses, and all these other things. And then you have your mid-combo damage dealers. This is one of them. So what I mean by this is, this isn't going to be a proper demonstration of a combo, but for example, you have a CC which puts someone's in place, and then you have a damage dealer, which is like that damage dealer after the CC. Then you would do your second CC, and then you would have something else that would be like your second damage dealer in the combination of things before you would disengage from somebody to get your CC cooldown recovered. I hope that makes sense.
CC just stands for crowd control. So anything that you could potentially control someone's ability to move or disengage or attack you, you're basically just putting a pause on that for a certain amount of time, be it half a second, or 2 seconds, depending on what you've done. Which is why obviously we have things like Forward Guards and Super Armors to either mitigate damage or the CC crowd control effect.
Now, you will always use this in active grinding, in my opinion. You will always use this in active PvP. Yeah, I think you will always use this in active PvP with Awakening and pre-Awakening, because I do believe this is a tremendously important move to have unlocked, and for people who have absolutes, it is a very important move to absolute, because this move becomes very reliable and becomes almost as viable as some moves in your, as compared to in your Awakening tree. Words are hard.
100%.
So that's all I really have to say on that. This is a mid-combo damage dealer move. So take that information as you will.
It also heals.
Oh yes, it also heals. There are certain moves that heal in the Striker's skill tree, and this is also one of them. Thank you for bringing that up. Please just hurt me, man. Hurt me.
You what now?
Hurt me, please.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you said I hurt you. I was like, wait, what did I do now?
All right, so take a look at my health right here, down right here, and I apply the Roaring Tiger move. I cast that, and I've healed a chunk of health. So sometimes in fights where you need to disengage and you're using your pots, you can also use certain moves to help you get that health back up to full a lot faster, which can also help you recover in a fight. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at some of the last moves here in the skill tree, and then we will be finishing off with some pre-awakened duels. We're going to be doing a second part, which will be discussing the awakening of the Striker's skill tree, and in there we will also be discussing Striker's Rabams. So the reason why we're going to make this a pre-awaken only guide for the moment is because we're going to keep our console-friendly players in mind. I know this video is long, but this is a lot of information to discuss, and I wanted to do my absolute best to give you guys more than one in-depth opinion on this class, as well as leaving the comments section as an open conversation. Moving on, let's talk about Wolf's Fang. This is what I would call the Kamehameha of Striker. If you can go ahead and start casting that for me. Let's take a look at what this move does. So this move is a forward guard upon using the skill, but this also, I will mention, this relies on your S block as well. And when the move is finally casted on a good hit, it can also potentially apply a stun. So with that being said, there is quite literally no point in time where you are going to use this in grinding. It's just a very slow move to cast. Unless you just want it to look cool, you want to see it, then do it. But in PvE, you're never going to use this. It's just way too slow to cast. It does no damage. I would love to see this move be the ultimate of Striker, but whatever. That being said, the only time that I find yourself maybe using it is when you're in a stationary position. When you're in a stationary position waiting for somebody. You might be waiting for somebody. And then on top of that, after you've casted this, you can also dash backwards after the initial cast of it. And be aware that with Striker movement things that I mentioned earlier, depending on where you aim your screen is where you will end up. So if you wanted to, you could also chase. You could chase your cast. So there's not going to be many times and places of if you ever get this, but it is cool if it ever happens. So if you have Awakening, let's just say, do this, cast backwards, drop your leg, he CC'd, now you've grabbed him, for example. But the only time you're ever going to be using this, in my opinion, is when you're waiting for somebody. It applies your S block when someone's hitting you. It has a forward guard when casting. So after casting, if they get behind you, you're going to get hit. Or sorry, you're going to get stunned potentially. And also note that when you are holding this, it consumes a schwack ton of your stamina.
Oops, sorry. I was meant to be in front of you.
It consumes a schwack ton of your stamina. So be aware of that. Go ahead and just, yeah. See? That's really all I have to say about it. Don't use it in PvE. PvP, there are some people that like to lock it. I like to keep it unlocked because there are times and places where you can leave yourself as stationary. Someone's trying to engage on you. You can maybe try to aim where they're going to be, move yourself in a different position. I find it to be a very great baiting tool. Not in every case scenario, though. And you only have so much time, honestly, to use this before you've depleted a lot of your stamina. And if you end up thinking that, oh, I'm going to stay here for a long period of time, eventually when you do run out of stamina, it's going to automatically cast. Don't do anything, please. And then now I've only got so much stamina left for movement. And now all of a sudden, I've immobilized myself to some degree. So you're making it that much harder for yourself. And then if you cast a lingering super armor in some case scenarios and you're not recovering stamina in that case scenario, then you're going to it's just going to be that much harder. You see what I'm saying. Anything else that you want to put on that one?
So as discussed earlier, right in the beginning, we were talking about how the chi effect can work.
Mm-hmm.
These two following abilities that we're about to discuss, being the Absolute Wolf Fang and the Rage Hammer, are actually the things that we're referring to. Now, if you notice here, I have actually switched back to full AP. It's a blue Kamehameha, and it does X amount of damage. Now, if I actually activate my chi, which is now used all 3, and I get this extra buff, which if you attack me quickly, you'll notice I'll have a red wolf or some sort of icon on me. Up, if I can get up. My Kamehameha now will be gold, and it does a lot more damage. Other than that, there's not much else. If you actually look at the skill description to see what I was referring to, it does actually explain that there is an additional damage underneath the original one, which is mentioned as enduring energy explosion. That is effectively what we're talking about here, is the chi effect when you have that little red wolf down the bottom of your buff icon for 30 seconds.
I actually never
will allow your Kamehameha to
I don't use this move enough and rely on this move enough that I never knew that. Is this only on absolute?
No, it'll work on all skills.
All skills.
Basically, if you have the gold Kamehameha, it is actually our hardest hitting pre-awaken move. Obviously, notwithstanding with CCs and whatnot, because you wouldn't really use it in a CC.
It's a lot of time to cast it. Yeah.
Correct. You can actually use that, which I'll explain later on with our pre-awakening combos, to make a devastating combo in pre-awakening.
I feel like you and I have also learned a lot by talking to one another about this in depth. All right.
Yeah, like there's little things I just didn't think about.
Yeah, myself as well. This is great. I love, and I hope people watching this are enjoying this as well. Now, we have our last move in the skill tree to talk about. I'll talk about the last remaining chunk for anyone who might be concerned about it. That'll be a brief 60 seconds. Let's talk about the final move in the pre-awakening tree of Striker, our Rage Hammer. So I have, I think this is a tremendously important skill of Striker. You have to be aware, though, that when casted, on a good hit, it can CC people, it can put them down. It does a lot of damage, and it also applies itself as a lingering super armor. So go ahead and cast that Rage Hammer. I do a move that's a CC. He's protected. Well, since you moved after, that's fine.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But know that it is a protective skill, that it can help nullify damage. Now, there's a con to this. You're tremendously predictable, and you're tremendously stationary. So if I do, so go ahead and use it whenever you want, really. Just missed my grab. Just hang on a second. Yeah. I'll let you know when my grab is done, and you use it whenever you want.
In 3, 2,
no,
1.
Don't, hold on. Let me guess, though. I want to show.
Okay.
I want to, because the idea and concept of what I'm saying is you can potentially become predictable to people who know the class. So with enough space, okay. Are you gonna cast the move? Or are you gonna move around? What are you doing? Okay, go ahead. Do whatever you want. I'm going for the engage. I just didn't expect you to be moving around. Go ahead. That's all I'm saying. I have stuff on my desk. My apologies. Go ahead and just dash around here. I just moved some stuff over. Missed the grab, but you can see me trying to go for it when he's doing it. That's all I'm trying to describe. Let's do it for one more time.
I'm not the best person because I'm laggy.
No, that's okay. Go ahead one more time. That's just the example of what I'm trying to describe. You're not going to get it every time, right? And I've got too much stuff on my desk to really be moving my mouse around too much. And we'll do it one more example. This is a terrible example, but you get what I'm saying. Stationary again. And keep in mind, if you guys have watched that Forward Guard Super Armor video that I have linked in the description, you will know that a grab always beats a Super Armor. So for certain grab classes, you may, fighting against grab classes, you may provide yourself to be predictable, but in other classes, like, let's say, like Dark Knights, Witches, and classes that may not have a grab, Meiwas, Musas, you will have this as a 360 AoE lingering super armor protective skill that can potentially diminish damage from people. If you have people who have tremendously high AP, and it's just becoming a super armor trade game of people who are melting through your super armor, maybe this may not be the skill to use every single time. That's just how I feel about it. Go ahead and do it one more time. I'm going to try to see if I can predict it. And
okay. I mean, we're not the best class to already do it on. Like, no. I would say, like, Warrior might be the better one with the Solar Flare.
Completely agree.
Technically, I framed out of that, but yeah.
But on my screen, I've grabbed you. But for the most part, you guys, I hope you guys get what I'm saying. I'll let you go ahead and touch more on this because you might have some better input on this move.
Only going back again. Now, I can't show because I have actually used the chi up. Mm-hmm. But again, if you look over the description, it also mentioned the energy explosion. it effectively just gives you that boost of damage once again. It also is quite reliable in terms of accuracy. So the damage that you see from it is kind of... So if you're fighting a high evasion class, it doesn't do a lot of damage in the Awakening series where PC is up, but for Xbox and concerning them, the skill will actually do a decent amount of damage, especially if you're looking at the bonus damage applied with the 3-chi, the Wolf's... what's it called again? I've forgotten the name of it. Prey Hunt. That will actually do a decent combo, and it is a decent finisher. So I'll do the combo I was referring to earlier, which is basically this for Pre-Awakening. So I mean, that is 255 AP.
Let me go full health. Take off your AP. Do the combo example. We're going to be fighting each other at the end here in Pre-Awakening.
Yeah, so this is 216 AP, just to give an example. So, I mean, that's 216 AP
against 292 DP.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing where Striker doesn't scale well is PvE. The one thing where we scale tremendously well is PvP. And that's where a lot of people honestly hate our class. And I don't blame them.
Yeah,
with that being said, let's wrap up the last of the tree, and then we're going to move into some pre-awakened fights for fun. So you have the mountain aura, and if you read this, it gives you exactly what it describes. Magic DP, range DP, magic TP, range DP. Below this, you can see you can increase your health. Below this, you'll see you can get increased damage against monsters. I believe every skill tree has chunks like this at the bottom. And then at the very very bottom, you can see Rage Absorption, and you can see the Rage Transfer. Take the time to read that over, because every class has the ability to do things like this, as well as just escaping. So just get familiar with all that. Now you may see at the bottom here that we have Rabam skills, and PC players are going to ask why we haven't talked about this. We're going to be talking about Rabams in the Awakening skill tree in part 2. So stick around for that as we move into the second section, or feel free to revisit this at a later time. So we're going to be wrapping this video up, and I thank you guys for watching. We're going to be jumping into a few pre-awakened fights only without Rabams, so I'm going to have to ask you to remove your Rabams if you have any on your cooldowns, or lock them if possible. And then...
Yep, done that.
I'll remove mine. And let's go ahead and let's duel for a little bit. I'll get you to reset me, please.
I'm just going to quick... yeah, sure. I've actually unequipped myself now, so...
And you've gone ahead, have you done the Villa buff?
I have got a Villa buff, and I've got a Cron Meal.
Okay, I'll go ahead and get a Villa buff, and then we'll do... Let's do... How about just best of 5, and we'll just joke around a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Shop, and then let's go ahead and grab the enhancement. Alright, let's do it.
Alright, so this will be the first time I've done an actual pre-awakening duel for a while.
Yep, same. And this is great too. I'm sure our console friends really appreciate this. Alright, I'm ready when you are.
Ready when you are.
Now you notice that I've started with the AP buff. I've also gone ahead and started with Crouching Wolf so I can get an attack and movement speed buff up. I'm going to definitely get CC'd there and definitely get hurt there. He's stayed way too long. Pre-awaken grab, debuff, Hadouken, keep you on the ground. Oh, I forgot to take off my guard brace. I was just about to do my leg drop. Give me 2 seconds. Pause for 2 seconds. I'm good to go. Good to go.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready. No, stop, mister. Don't take my lunch money.
Damn, I'm so not used to this.
Oh, I'm so used to using my leg after. This is so weird.
I know, right?
We look like 2 goons right now. This is great. Get over here.
Shit. I'm trying to do awakening skills. Okay.
I don't even know what's supposed to be close. We're just 2 monkeys.
As you guys can see right there as well, I managed over the course of our squabbling to get 3 chi. After my grab, I instantaneously Crouching Wolfed. Grab has a long enough KD that I had enough time to not only Crouching Wolf, but to proceedingly go through to my Wolf's Fang.
And to anyone who's made it this far into the video, also do bear in mind that we are not going to be the best people to discuss about pre-awakening striker combos only. The time that PC got Striker, we ended up getting Awakening very shortly after. So the meta of getting used to combat with Striker has been a very different experience for us. So if it looks like we don't know how to fight in pre-Awaken only, it's because we know the moves, but we are not used to fighting this way. So muscle memory is really going to take over. So anyone who's gone out of their way to put up those combinations that need to be used in pre-Awaken Striker, you're going to find on that Discord. So make sure you guys click that link, join in there. You guys are going to find the most valuable information in there. All right, we'll do, so 5 rounds, we'll do best of 3. So you're up 1.
Okay.
Ready when you are. Holmes.
Ready.
Blarg and shit. Oh. Just rained a somersault. What?
I framed that. I'm telling you now, I framed that.
Oh, you did not, you fucking liar.
I totally did. I was up instantly. I framed that again. Told you. No, I didn't know that one. Ah.
Oh, I'm so used to doing something else after. Get over here,
I framed that again.
What is this contest?
Ah, shit. Okay. Ah! I was... never mind.
You were nothing. Oh, I was trying to Nimbus strike out of that. I was trying to just get away from you. Get over here. All right, so what do you do?
Okay, I definitely cannot do roaring.
You do this, then this, then that, then that. Was that look right to you?
So basically, I was hoping I could actually add in... I was hoping I could add in Roaring Tiger before I can't, though.
Oh, okay, I see.
Oh, I keep trying to use my Rabam. Oh my gosh. No.
I stay way too close. I thought Rage Hammer was off cooldown.
This is the combo.
Man, this muscle memory, man. Okay. Oh, oh, okay. I think you had Flow Bombardment unlocked, though, there, buddy.
I know. It was Explosive Blow.
Boom.
I think. Oopsies.
Okay, I see.
Ah, shit.
Okay, I see. So you do this.
Yeah. Well, I just do the full Crimson Fang tree.
Oh, I used Mass Destruction off cooldown. I'm so stupid.
I framed that. What? No.
Not so fast, buddy. What? There you go. There you go.
You keep sliding.
I know. Dude, I'm not gonna get this down at all. I'm so not used to Striker Pre-Awakening only with Outer Bams.
I know,
I'm
right?
so used to using that, like my back step.
Yep.
I've even got my Awakening moves on on my UI display right now. It's so weird to me.
Dude, I keep pressing 3 for my Rabam. It's not working.
Makes a Striker guide. Can't even Striker.
So that was actually what I was talking about earlier. I landed and I was completely unsafe.
I think there's something else I gotta lock in my skill tree here. There you go. Nice job.
Oof.
Man, what a challenge this is. All right, one more.
Okay. Ready.
Ready.
Keep trying to spiral cannon.
Muscle memory just made me try to do my leg. That was supposed to be my grab. My gravity went on cooldown.
You keep going behind me.
Just a bunch of
Nice,
monkeys.
Mara.
Oh, what the fuck? Get over here. What? No! We literally did the same thing. All right, you wrecked me, dude. Hell yeah.
Oh.
You shredded me. You are the greater pre-awakened striker. Well, anyways, I hope that this information has been valuable. I hope that what we have shared has been somewhat helpful. And I hope that there's a lot to take from this. As far as that goes, if you guys want to continue on to part 2, where we talk about awakenings and talk about the Rabams, then stick around. And if not, then thank you very much for watching. Make sure to give you guys his comments and contributions in the comment section down below. Don't forget to join the Striker Discord to hear more on combinations in regards to PvE and PvP. And thank you very much for watching, and welcome to the Striker.
Thanks for having me as well there, Strike.
Yeah.